You go to one or two Roman sites, you will very quickly recognise a Roman military granary. That's what these are. Now, we normally think of a fort like South Shields designed to take an auxiliary unit. That's its base, and that's where everybody can live. In fact, under Septimius Severus, this is packed full of granaries. It seems to become not accommodation for soldiers, but storage for a much larger group of soldiers. Now, Septimius Severus will obviously die in York, spends his last few years campaigning in what's now Scotland, so a large army operating in this area needs lots of supplies. We only know this because this was the first fort to be almost completely excavated. Even an auxiliary fort, it's a tenth the size of a legionary base, is big. Archaeology is expensive and takes time. Because the plans of these forts are quite formulaic, have I got the note? Okay, we're going to Caerphilly Castle next, right. There was a tendency to find a few traces. Oh, we've got the commander's house here, we've got the barrack block here, and then fill in everything else to a standard plan, because more or less they fit. It's just not quite exact. But when we get more information, we realise actually there are phases and different things are happening. So archaeological evidence presents us with an awful lot of information that we simply don't get in the surviving literary sources for the Principate, because they don't go into that sort of detail, but it's a different type of evidence. And remember as well, although we have Tacitus for the 1st century, we don't have the equivalent of Caesar's detailed narratives of campaigns for the army of the Principate at all. Closest we get is Josephus, that deals with the Jewish rebellion, mainly deals with sieges. And for the 2nd century AD, major campaigns occur, the big imperial wars in Dacia in the east, about which we know very, very little indeed. People even try and glean stuff from Lucian's satirical book about the writing of history to try and understand Lucius Verus's campaign against the Parthians, because we know so little, even though one of the two emperors of the day is in charge and a large part of the Roman army gets transferred from all over the empire to go and fight this against the biggest other state out there, and next to nothing is known about it. So we're dealing with different types of evidence. Let's think about Roman forts. Obviously they've got walls around them, but they are fundamentally different to medieval castles. This is Caerphilly, not far from me. I think it's the biggest castle in Britain, though you can't quite see it from this angle. You look at a medieval castle, what stands out are the big defences. The walls, the towers. Caerphilly's concentric design. This is Chepstow. Can't see it, but the first part is one of the earliest Norman defensive structures in Britain, because it was begun in 1067. Built on a hill, built on a ridge above a river. Strong point with strong defences. You look at Roman army bases. This is a model of the one at Halton from the Augustan period. You've got your wall around, and if you're some angry barbarian running up, that's still a formidable obstacle, but it's not the scale of defences of a medieval castle. We call them fortresses for legionaries, we call them forts for auxiliaries. They are not primarily defensive. What they are is packed full of buildings. Accommodation for people, storage space, granaries, the like. There we go, there's a plan of housesteads on Hadrian's Wall. Same thing, commander's house, Principia, possibly the hospital, granaries up there with the buttresses again. Lots of barrack blocks. It's lots of space. There is a wall around it, but it's also built on the reverse slope. It isn't on the highest ground around, it isn't on the most obvious defensive position. It sprawls because it's there to accommodate people. That's a model which gives you an idea of, again, the impression of the thing. So you add in as well, you've got usually, that's going to be Wall's End, isn't it? Because that's where the wall ends, with the River Tyne there. But it's a similar, this is a cavalry fort rather than an infantry fort. Very similar design. But again, it's barrack and stable blocks, it's barrack blocks, it's storage space, it's all of those things, rather than, yes, you've got your gateways, yes, you've got your walls, but it isn't primarily defensive.